What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the greatest podcast in the world, Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I am your host, the truth, the dad bod god, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin. And today, we got a special one for you guys, man. We got one of my favorite people in the entire world, and I know that I say that about everyone, but this time I actually mean it. We got the one, the only, the cult classic, Bobby Bishop. Cult classic, but I'm slurring my words all over the place, but I did get that out right. I'm just making sure. It's been a long weekend, but I digress. But before we get into the conversation with Bobby Bishop, let's take a quick second to talk about Sleeps.com. That's SLEEFS, Sleeps.com. Listen, if you or someone you know is an athlete, Sleeps.com is the place you need to go and check out. They've got all your athletic gear and wear covered, from armbands, compression pants, compression shorts, tracksuits, headbands, mouth guards, boots, and you know they've even got those dirty boxes that you know I'm always rocking. These dirty boxes are amazing. They stay dry, they stay fresh, they are so freaking comfortable. Go and get yourself some of those dirty boxes at Sleeps.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount at your final purchase. Also, wherever you are tuning in, I appreciate it. If you're tuning in on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell to stay notified, tap that little red button and tap in, because you know I'm bringing you some of the best interviews in the world today, from professional wrestling, professional sports, music, comedy, you name it. We're bringing you some of the most entertaining fucking people in the world right here. So get to clicking and tapping in. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review, because that helps us bring our amazing conversations to more amazing people. So get to clicking, get to tapping in, because you know this is the place to get some of the best entertainment in the fucking world, bar none. But talk about entertainment, let's get into this conversation right now with the one, the only, the cult classic, baby, Bobby motherfucking Bishop. Welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. It is the dad bod god, the truth, Piers Austin, and I'm with one of my favorite people in the entire world. And I know I say that about everyone, but this time I actually mean it. The one, the only, the cult classic, Bobby Bishop. Brother, welcome back to the show, man. I'm excited to have you back here.
Thank you. This is my third time, I'm pretty sure.
It is, man. Third time on the show, bro. It's exciting to have you back, man. It's only a few people have cracked past number 2, man. And you're one of the few, man. So I'm excited to get into it with you, bro.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It's been interesting, man, over the last few years, getting to interview a lot of people, especially across like the Australian wrestling scene, and like really establishing friendships with a lot of people like through this. And I feel like I've kind of done that with you, which has kind of been great. But like we've yet to be on like a show together, which I think we were supposed to be just before like the second lockdown at FW.
Yeah, we were. That's right.
Yeah, and we're both excited for it. And I was like, oh shit, now it's not going to happen. So, but I'm sure it'll happen sooner or later.
Yeah, at some point.
It's
been a while, 2 years, but I mean, it's been 2 years, maybe a year and a half, I think, since we spoke, or at least a year.
Yeah, I mean, like I think the last time was when we were doing the stuff on Russo's brand. I think, I think that as we're going there, that was a kind of wild experience to do that. So, but yeah, no, it's great to have you back, man. You've had a pretty interesting like couple of years as well, man. I think, you know, with like I feel like you're one of the like main people responsible for really putting Queensland wrestling on the map. And putting a positive light to it as well, man, like what 3 Count Academy's doing. And even, you know, the shows that you've been on, and I think the person you are and how you represent the business in Queensland as well, which I feel like Queensland's like has sort of had a bit of a like, I don't know, like I've said it before, you know what I mean? Queensland wrestling's kind of like the redheaded stepchild. It sort of seems like of Australian wrestling for so long, but I feel like now it's in such a good place because there's some really good people really supporting and driving it.
I feel like in that analogy you just said, I feel like it's the redhead stepchild. But I think at the moment it's like that redhead stepchild that grew up, got a life in order, or his life,
Mm.
and but the parents haven't even checked up or seeing what's going on with their life and everything like that. Because we're doing great things here. Like we're like our biggest show is like looking great. Like it's done look very much on par with all the big shows around here. I mean, except for a few, obviously, MCW, PWA. You're not going to beat those, or EPW's biggest. You know what I mean? But we're on the right path for that. But I feel like as much as we improve here, I still think a lot of people outside don't even know we sort of exist at this level at the moment, which is it's fine. But it does get interesting sometimes when I feel like some people don't know that we're hitting these sort of goals at the moment.
It's interesting, man, because I feel like if we look at professional wrestling and from the Australian level, right? So, you know, I remember seeing like someone did an article and it was like the top promotion, like their view of the top promotions in Australia, and it was like obviously the ones that you mentioned earlier, right? Like were the main catalyst. And it's like, and some people were getting upset, like I saw in the comments, but I'm like, you have to understand these are the people that have been doing this for a long time. They have a strong social media presence. Their social media game is consistent. Like they're constantly putting stuff out there that, you know what I mean? They're more in the front eyes of fans because they're consistently doing it for the longest time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And also, too, I know the article you're talking about. I think a few people commented on that, and I look, I agree with their frustration. I just didn't comment on it because at the end of the day, it's what's it going to do?
It's a subjective matter of someone who is appreciating what's done in Australia to some degree, but like if they don't know about a certain product, like that's not on. That's not, like I don't feel like they can be blamed for that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like what? And like that was the thing about it too was I think the only thing wrong with the article was because the person's defense was, oh, this is my point, this is my opinion, or its opinion. I can't remember the way he worded it, but my thing was like when I looked at that comment he threw back was, you probably should have identified that this is our opinion, the best feds, because it communicates a way that we're ignoring people or something like that. Can you hear something?
Yeah, I think that sounds like something on your end.
It wasn't. That's so weird.
It wasn't on my end either. Maybe it was my vapors. I don't know. I didn't see any smoke coming out of it. It's, you know what? It's so weird, man. Like sometimes, like, because I'll do podcasts at like really weird hours of the time with people overseas at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll go outside and have a vape, and because I live on the bush, and I'll hear like wallabies and animals like walking and shit, and I'm like, "The fuck was that?" And then I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna go inside. This is starting to freak me out a bit. I'm out.
It happened last night. We kept hearing thumping around the house, and I was about to have a shower, and Lucille woke up and she was like, "What's that noise? Someone's trying to break in our house." And I'm like, run out of the shower, like I run out of the bathroom, barely dressed, like, "Where are they? Where are they?" It's like, and I ran out, and it was my cat thumping something against the wall.
That's awesome. That half naked Bobby Bishop running out to fight off burglars.
I was like, because I'm a pretty thick boy, like I'm meaty as not like jacked, but like I look strong but meaty. Imagine some like poor teenage criminal open the doors like, "Oh, that's a lot of meat."
Some little Eshe kid walks in there with his TNs going, "Yeah, bros, let's go." Oh, shit. It's just crazy, man. But yeah, dude, like you get spooked at certain things, man. Like even my kids will like come randomly down there. I heard a noise in the wall. I'm like, fuck would be in the wall. Go to bed.
He's not getting out of the wall. Don't worry.
Yeah. It's like it's in a wall, bro. Trust me. We got some reinforcements on this bitch here done. But man,
But yeah,
one of the things I
back
want.
to that. Oh, sorry. No,
Sorry,
you
go.
go ahead. I'll just finish up.
No,
And
you
then,
go.
yeah, I think because he didn't say it was their opinion, they said it was like these are the top brands. Like I feel like that communicated something where it's like people felt ignored, and I get they're frustrated. I wouldn't comment. I don't want to comment about stuff like that. Like it took me ages to stop hashtagging Queensland wrestling like it's a flag, and and that was because I had this actually great chat with JXT about it. We shouldn't be trying to aim to be Queensland wrestling biggest. It should be Australian wrestling hashtag because that's what we all are.
100%.
I feel like criticizing each other or getting angry at each other because someone didn't pay attention or someone didn't know we exist. Like we're a big scene when you think about it. Like I mean, I'm pretty switched on because I pay attention to everything, but I still get people asking me, "Who's this? Who's this fed? What's this fed?" And like an encyclopedia, I have to tell them where they all came from.
But you know what? Like, it's the same. Like for me as well. Like I try because I talk to so many people in the business, both here and internationally, and I try and stay on top of, especially in our backyard. But it's like sometimes I'll get a message from a wrestler saying, "Hey, I wrestle in Australia. Like, do a podcast with me." And I'm like, and I'm sitting there, I was like, I don't want to reply back and go, I don't know who you are. Because, I mean, like, that's kind of like a dick thing to do, like, especially for someone like me to do it. Like, so, but like, sometimes I'm just like, I just no sell it. Like, and because I'm like, I don't want to be I just don't want to be a dick. That's
Yeah,
the
no,
main, like, if
I
you
get it.
see me
100% get it.
and I sell your shit, it's just because I'm not, I'm just, I'm not trying to be, I'm just trying to not be an asshole and say something like, because I can be pretty direct. If I say, I don't know who you are, like, then that could be taken as like, oh, this guy's being a fucking asshole. So I just,
Yeah, it's hard, like because at the current moment, I dare say I'm on the management team for Pro League, and they obviously and by the way, this is what makes me laugh about that article is obviously they didn't know our product and everything like that. But a lot of wrestlers know our product because they message our bloody socials a lot asking to be on the shows.
yeah, exactly.
They obviously see the product, they see what type of level we're going at. And one of my jobs is to filter people. So, like, who should we use? Who do you think hits the level that we're hitting at? And basically, one of the and it's not just me too. There's another guy who does it as well.
Sure.
Basically, if you get a message saying, we're just trying to book local talent, what that actually means is message us again when you're a little bit when you've hit a new level in terms of a wrestler, and we'll definitely consider you because at this very moment we already have people who are probably at your level or a lot of them are above it.
Yeah. And I think that like, I don't know, like you don't want to, because you don't want to be an asshole. You don't want to tear people down. And that's the hardest thing of like, sometimes it's like, and also some people take rejection in different ways as well. You know what I mean? Like they could get angry, they could get like depressed about it or certain ways. And I just like, for the most part, I think there's just a nicer way to sort of like let people know what's going on. And I feel like even if you're a promoter and you're like involved in that thing, and especially if you have like a hot fed and like you're getting a lot of traction, and then you're going to get a lot of people, as you said, like, hey, bring me in, brother.
Hit me up.
Let's make them towns, brother.
I'm like, and I mean, and that's the thing. Like, rejection is definitely a hard thing to do. Like, at the moment, this is going to go a little bit tangent with me, but my wrestling at the moment is much more reminiscent of Dusty Rhodes, Colt Cabana. Like, I'm a very simplistic wrestler. I just know how to work a crowd. Like, I love that ability. The best part about it is if I wrestled Adam Brooks like last year. I wrestled like a couple of people who are like this high level caliber, and I can still keep up with them. I could do this. I could do more stuff. I can jump. I'm very explosive when I need to be, but my appearance deceives you into thinking I can do that. I mean, into thinking I can't do that. Sorry, but one of the in terms of rejection is the hardest thing about rejection is like a lot of promoters that I've reached out to and stuff like that. Like they sort of say, yeah, we'll get back to you, and they never do. And I get what that is, and I don't take it personally and stuff like that. But it's always funny where you don't have to take rejection as you're a stupid dumb wrestler. You're not good.
Yeah.
Like it was a good example. We had the NWA tour here recently, and because I own the ring and I own all the stuff, like I always have a mindset. I'm on the show because I provided the tools for them to run the show, and they're doing me a favor. You know what? Thank you so much. I do appreciate this. And people tell you how selfless I am for it. Like there was a guy here called Renegade who wanted to get on the show, and on the second day, I didn't do it in front of him. He found out because the NWA guys told him. I actually told him, "Is there any chance I could just get off the show and we can put him on instead?" And their response was, "Do you have a good reason for it so I can tell Billy?" And I'm like, unless you count, I just want him on the show. I don't have an excuse. And they were like, yeah, I'm not taking that excuse. Sorry, buddy. You got to be on the show or not.
Yeah, dude, that's a selfless thing to do in your behalf. Like to go to like, I've got this opportunity on NWA. Hey, give him a shot. Like that's pretty selfless, man. Like,
and the reason, that's another thing too. Like the reason I did that was one of my things was I didn't know, like I'm very like imposter syndrome sort of person. I think you had Mitch Ryder on here talking about it recently, where Billy Corgan was giving them feedback on everything.
Yeah.
I watched all those guys get feedback, and I'm just like, and I was in the last match of the day against Kerry Morton Jr. And
nice.
it was some, like immediately when I got that match, I'm like, oh, that's some shoes to get into.
100%.
I was, I waited, and I watched everyone get their feedback and what they need to improve on. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to do this match. I'm going to walk straight up to Billy and ask him, what do I need to improve on? Or what did you think of the match? Because I want to know. I had this match. I worked the crowd. It was the most, I dare say, NWA Southern style you will ever see me do, because that's some of my bread and butter. I love watching that style of wrestling.
Yeah, man. But that's the fan base of NWA. If you go and watch what they're putting out on YouTube, their YouTube show, that's the kind of style of wrestling they're doing. They're not doing the indie high fast-paced stuff. They're not doing the WWE television style or the indie-rific style. They're doing that old school style, and you see that in the work.
100%. And the best part about it is I've actually, from another school here that I used to go to a long time ago, they actually, because they train their guys how to work for TV, like, because they want to stream. They've been streaming for years. They want to stream it like it's TV. So I knew how to work a TV match, like how to run certain ways to the ropes to make sure this crowd gets this without crisscrossing in anything. Yeah. So I applied all those things. I even messaged the trainer after the match saying, "Hey man, you really helped me today. Thank you. I know it's been years, but like honestly, that helped a lot." So I did this match. I wrestled Kerry. It was the funnest match I ever did. I did the Dusty Rhodes, like elbows, which is my thing now, and it was one of those things. Like, I can't believe I'm going to do the Dusty Rhodes on an NWA show. I'm so set for this now. But before we went out, and like we didn't even plan in the match. Like we talked, which blew me away, because I always knew that existed. I knew I had it in me to sort of do that. But like the problem here is a lot of guys haven't been wrestling as long as me, and the people who have a very articulate way or how they want to wrestle, which is fine. That's their style. So we just chatted a few things, and it's like, hey, we might do this, we might do that, but the end should be this at least. And then we went out there, man, and we just did it. And the crowd were hot for it. I went back. I walked past the MCW promoter and one of the MCW top wrestlers, and they were like, "Bro, that was a good match. That was a really good match. The crowd loved that." And I was like, "Oh, thank you. That's just off to a good start." And then I see Billy Corgan walk in, and I'm ready for it. I'm like, all right, this is it. I'm going to know what they want to work on. And I've never been so disappointed in my life with this feedback, but also proud. He walked up and was just like, "Good shit, man. That was really good shit." Honestly, if that was for filming for one of our shows, I would have proved the fuck out of that. That was exactly what I wanted out of that match. And I was like, "Oh, do you have any feedback?" "No, man. No, I don't have anything negative to tell you. I really enjoyed what you did out there with Kerry. That was a really good match." So when I got to day 2, when I giving up my spot, I was like, I've already done what I wanted. I proved that I could do this at this level, and I'm happy with it. And this is I don't think any match I'm going to have after this is ever going to feel this good. But then I still wrestled. He gave me good feedback on day 2, and then third one he was too tired. It wasn't good feedback, but it wasn't negative feedback. But I could tell he was so tired he didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, well, I think as well he's probably like over wrestling at that, you know what I mean, point, plus performing on gigs and doing like a massive tour. It's like,
I feel like he didn't enjoy it. The way he was talking, I feel like he didn't enjoy it because we did a bit of comedy in it, and I didn't do comedy in the last one. I did more physical comedy, whereas this one was a little bit. One of the NWA wrestlers had a broken foot, so he would try to like work around it by doing this. And his response was like very plain, like, it is what it is, man. Like, and I'm like, okay. And then I was also told by a few guys, like, yeah, he kind of likes a certain way of matches. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know what?
I've heard he's very dry, but like he's very dry to talk to, like very, very blunt almost.
He's very chill. He's very blunt. I don't think I've met a promoter who's not like that in ways, but 100%. he was very kind to us. Like, I honestly thought we weren't going to see him much, but he was with us pretty much for the whole day. He was having chats with the guys, mainly more so on the first day. I think the third day he was like, I'm kind of done with this. But yeah, he helped everyone with advice. He was just very positive to everyone. He wanted everyone. His biggest words to us in the show meetings was, "I just want you guys to have fun. Go have fun out there." And that was it.
That's awesome, man. But like, I gotta ask you the most important question here, and this is the real question here.
Yeah.
Did you go up and do the Simpsons spot with him?
You see, my message bank was so full. How I knew it was a bad idea was when my message bank had 20 messages from people telling me to do it. And I knew the moment I got 20 messages, like, I wonder how many other people got 20 messages, which also goes in the calculator. I wonder how many people have told him that line. I should have saved it to after he gave my feedback, when he gave me the thumbs up. I'm like, oh, okay, you know who I am.
Bro, that is the like, I can just imagine he gets that so much that he's just like, yeah, okay, fuck off. Like, you know what I mean? Almost like Matt Damon. Like, you just would have, like, apparently he has like people coming up to him on the daily just going, Matt Damon. Amen. And he's just like, fuck, he hates it.
It's weird, but because I watched one of the Bourne movies recently, and when he popped up on the screen, I uttered that, like, Matt Damon. And I immediately thought about that. I'm like, why am I still saying that? It's been years.
It's so funny. But you know what? It's one of those things that sort of can come back. Like, do you remember like when people were like going, "What's up?" and shit like that? Yeah. And that became like a big thing. And it was like, I was watching, like, I think I watched like a rerun of like Scary Movie or something one night, and they did that, and I just like started popping for it huge. And it was like, then the next day I'm like trying to do it with my wife and get it started, and the kids got into it. My wife's like, no, I'm not doing that fucking 2003 shit. No, like, she knows it. She's like, fuck that shit.
It's even earlier than that. That's the worst part. It was like 2000 exactly.
Yeah, that's right. I remember the Dudleys did it for a while, right? They did the wow.
Yeah, there was I wonder how many people have like gone back to watch wrestling, seen that, and just thought, "Oh, yeah, the Dudleys invented that."
Well, fuck, like you probably would, man. But it's kind of like where people would sort of like have, like, when I speak to younger wrestling fans, and I'm like, oh yeah, so like, what was the first moment you saw that you got into wrestling? And it's like, oh man, when I saw NXT get formed, like that was like the most like awesome thing in the world. And I'm just going, fuck, I feel old. Like, or even it's like, oh man, WrestleMania 21, like that was pretty fucking huge, eh? Like that was like the best moment and I'm like, fuck. And they're like, what about you? I'm like, Hulk Hogan and the Iron Sheik in 1985.
It's weird too, because I remember watching when I was a little kid, because I had a bit of a period there where I didn't watch wrestling because I didn't have any way to watch it.
Yeah.
But I remember it's weird because to me this doesn't seem like a big deal. But when I talk to like some like young wrestlers and stuff like that, I tell them, like, I remember when I was watching WCW on TV and they look at me like I'm old as soon as I say that. And they're like, what? It's like I was watching Kevin Nash and Scott Steiner, and I'm throwing these names out like they're the fucking still the coolest. They are still the coolest shit, by the way, kids. And these guys. Well, I think like the funniest one I get is like Kevin Nash. Wasn't he in TNA? Like,
Yeah. Oh, what was the same thing? It was like, oh, I saw someone comment, but you know what? Like, but also that it comes down like where I see wrestling fans how they view certain wrestlers as well, and it's funny because it's like I take Stevie Richards for example. Like Stevie is honestly one of the most intelligent human beings I know. Like he's just a very very intelligent man. Every time I talk to him, I feel like I'm just watch what I say because I just don't want to look like a fucking idiot. And like I've done podcasts with him and it's like someone and he'll say something about the current product and it's on point. And if you're in the like people who were in the business would go, yeah, you make a lot of fucking sense. And then someone in the goes, what would Stevie know? He was never WWE champion. And it was just, there was like three of us doing this podcast and we all just went, oh, like really? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, just because you weren't there doesn't mean you know what I mean? Like, it's, yeah,
I
like
mean,
it's weird how like fans look at the business sometimes.
I mean, sometimes like, yeah, that's weird because like from our perception, like Stevie Richards, ECW man, WCW man, he was in WWE, but he wasn't just in WWE. He was in WWE for a long period of time. So there's a difference between making it to the top and sustaining yourself in WWE. Because I think it was Rip Rogers that said it. There's no WWE. The moment you get signed is the moment you're guaranteed to be released. Your job is to extend that date before it gets to you.
Yeah, man,
I'm
100%.
paraphrasing, by the way.
No, but it's 100%, and that's the thing where it's like, and even on like that level, right? When you're there, and the time period that he was there, bro, like the mind games that people play, like, bro, let's obviously knock down the fourth wall sometimes. Like, there's a lot of people in pro wrestling where like the mind games and the bullshit come into play, and in that time and that era, like I've heard the stories where it's just like they even would bait guys who, like, you know what I mean, into doing something stupid just so they could fire him. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I'm like, fuck, they would go to that level and they're like, oh, yeah, man. Like, people, and they'd say certain name wrestlers that would be like, oh, this person, when they like wanted to go and do that, like, was it Nikki Cross wanted to do the superhero thing? Mate, I was told, like, there would be like the people that the head honchos, they would be popping for that, going, we don't have to bury her. She's like wanting to bury herself. Yeah. Good job, sweetheart. Yeah, we'll do that. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
Like, that's the sort of mentality of it. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
It's a while. It's like, and that's the thing. Like hearing like stories of like that. It's weird how much the business has changed from that. Like, I get it all the time with So, and it's gonna sound like such a old man wrestler thing to say, but we have padding on our ring, but we have these proper gym mats that are like foam gym mats that are under it, and it's got a layer of of soft foam. When I started wrestling, we didn't have the soft foam. We just wrestled on the matting basically, and it was fine. Like as long as you bump right, you don't. It doesn't hurt. I mean, obviously, it teaches you to minimize your bumps. But I remember one week we were driving the truck back from a show and it started raining and the foam got wet. So I left the foam mats off and just let it so they dry. And I just put the normal gym mats in. We just put the thing over. I was still running around this ring, bumping around stuff like, oh yeah, this feels like it used to be. Oh, so many young guys who were like at my school when I was like, we're going to go to a show and I was packing the ring in and the foam takes so much room up. I'm like, you know what? Let's just take the gym mats and do that. No, I don't want to do that. I remember I was like, what do you mean you don't want to do that? And a couple of the older guys who've been around for like, 10 years, 7 years, all just there like, what? Like, what's your problem with it? And they're like, it's just not comfortable to keep bumping on that. Like, yeah, you just get used. You know what? Don't worry about it. It's gonna sound like an old man thing. We'll take the
But,
damn phone.
but you know what the thing is? But then you hear stories of people like training and breaking into the business, like learning to bump in a boxing ring, and like I don't know if you've been in a boxing ring, man, but like those things have no. Yeah, well, well, there you go. Like, there's no give in a boxing ring.
Yeah, like, well, the school that we obviously three count was it used to be another company. We actually bought that company and then rebranded it. That company started in a boxing ring. I was there, and I did not like even have a part of my, because I've obviously been wrestling for I think like 3 years by the point that I started training there.
Yeah.
And people would look at me weird because I was still bump in the boxing ring. I mean, it hurt, but it was just like, whatever. Like, because
but then
after
when you
a
went
while,
to
you don't give up.
But then when you went to bump in a wrestling ring, were you just like, oh fuck, this is like this is amazing compared to like what I'm used to?
Well, yeah, like I used to bump on gym mats on concrete for my original training, and I can honestly tell you because I got a meaty back as well. Like I'm very like in a mass sort of thing, so I guess that helps.
Yeah.
But I tell guys like I don't feel bumps anymore. I don't. I'm not sore. I'm not bad. My neck gets sore sometimes, but like, and my legs get a bit fucked up. But like, bumping is the least thing. But and I explains like I used to bump on these hard surfaces all the time. I used to bump on concrete with mats. I used to bump in it, and the rings used to be like this. And then they say like, what is it like? Oh, so you just don't feel anymore? It's like no, not at all. I learned to minimize my bumps unless they matter. Like I learned to lucha roll when I need to. I learn not to rely on bumping on the ring. And then when I bump now, it's just I bump perfectly where I don't hurt myself.
But that's the thing I think as well. Like in a match, you don't need to take 100 bumps. You know what I mean? Like it's like for you, I think you have like, and I think there's a few other people in the scene that are like this, whereas like you have a character where it's like you probably don't necessarily have to do a hell of a lot in matches because the character is so over. And I think even like Robbie Zuko in here in Sydney is like I think he's the exact same way. Comes out, does the greaser thing, does the A and all that sort of stuff, and can go and have but still goes and has these great matches. But I'm like, I've said to him, I'm like, why do you do some of this stuff, dude? Like, you really don't need to. Like, you could just come in, do your gimmick, and just like do a couple of things and like go home. And he's like, yeah, but I still fucking love this bit. You know what I mean? Like, he still loves the business. Like, he's just like, yeah, I know I can, but he's like, but why not, man? You know. But I feel like you're one of those people as well that probably don't need to do a hell of a lot in a match to get a reaction.
Like I'm blatantly honest. Like Mitch Ryder is a good example, and Tim Hayden, and the guys around here. And like I don't hide this from them, how I feel about it. Like I think their wrestling is great. I think they're at an athletic level that I don't think I can get to because I rely on other things.
Yeah.
But I always say this to people, like when they talk about wrestling styles, like you look at Tim, you look at Mitch, the way they're going right now is like if they did that for 10 years and I did my thing for 10 years, I guarantee I could probably still go at the same level. I mean, okay, I'm nearly 40, so maybe not, but we're at the same age. I guarantee I could keep going further at the same speed, the same level I'm at now. I guarantee they would get to 10 years and have to adjust because the body's made to hit a certain limit. Like even the greatest, like you look at like
Rey Mysterio, prime example. Like you look at his style, how it's evolved. Like he's probably close to like going on to 50, maybe like
100%. Shawn Michaels is a good example. The best thing I liked about Shawn Michaels was in his 40s, he didn't wrestle and do stupid stuff. He just kept to his greatest hits that he knew he could do safely. And then and like, but then you go look at other wrestlers. Look at Kurt Angle, like near the end there. Like Kurt Angle is by far the greatest character, greatest wrestler, one of the greatest promo men. Like, he's not greatest of all, you know what I mean? But he has the caliber to be called the greatest wrestler of all time just by all the boxes he ticks. His wrestling style so fucking intense that his body was broken by the time he was about to wrap it up.
But that's I even put Chris Jericho in that
Yeah.
sort of well, because it's like, and I've said this before, like Chris Jericho to me is like the Dave Grohl of professional wrestling. Like he's been cool for 30 years, and it's like you can't deny, like you see how he's evolved. Like okay, when he came into WWE, he sort of did the Y2K sort of stylish stick, and then his move set was different to what he did in WCW, and then he went through like different phases of his career where he became like the corporate Chris Jericho, the best in the world, then the rock and roll, the list, and all these different versions of himself, and was able to get them over on a high level. You know what I mean? Like completely over to being one of the most over thing on the show.
100%. And you know what? For that sort of stuff too, like I'm currently going through it with my character at the moment. I tell the guys all the time, don't constantly change, but don't think that this is the end point for what you need to do. Like a lot of guys around here, they'll get to a character they'll get over, and that's great. The only problem with that is they become one-dimensional and don't know how to move past that one-dimensional character. When I started, I was the retro kid, which is just the dumbfounded kid who like young, what do you call it, man child, who just really who loved 90s references and stuff like that. Looking back on it now, I was like, it feels like it has too much ideas to it. It should be more one-dimensional than it was.
Do you think there was too much happening in the character back then?
Yeah. Because when I started, I knew I wasn't gonna get storylines. I knew I wasn't gonna get big matches against the top cards. So all right, well, for my match to stand out, I need something that's a niche, like something that's people are gonna be like when they come back, like, oh yeah, I know that character. Like he does this, So I do the thumbs up when I come out, and I have never stopped doing that. And I notice every time I do it now, crowd pops because it's been put over so many times. But I remember when I did that, and then I realized I need to become more serious, and I became the cult classic. And I didn't really have much of a backstory of how that works. I just thought the cult classic sounded cool. It sounded like an evolution of what the retro kid would be. But this character I'm doing right now, and I was talking to Little Mars about this, who's found her niche, because she was talking about evolution. He's like, I'm currently in the run of a character called the Undeniable Bobby Bishop, which is a reflection of when I won the Wide Bay Championship and being the underdog for so long and finally winning. It's the character's mindset is, no, I'm not the underdog. I'm unstoppable, and I'm going to keep going, and no one's going to stop me. And if they do stop me, I'm going to come back for them and get what's mine again. That kind of mentality, basically. And it's worked a lot better because it's the undeniable Bobby Bishop. It's a bigger underdog compared to the other ones. It's a more serious role. And I was telling Little Mars about this, like, I'm on this thing right now and I'm starting to really love it. But I'm already thinking, what am I going to do after this? Because if I just focus on this, by the time it starts not working, I won't have an idea to move on.
You want to have something in the back burner which you're ready to go. And what I mean? But I think as well, because you're that experienced now and you've been around for as long as you have, where you can sort of see and go, hey, an over character, you know what I mean, can only be over for so long unless, you know what I mean, certain things, you know what I mean. But
100%.
Even then, some of the best characters in the world have to be tweaked every, I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, all of that, they all went through these little tweaks throughout their careers. Has to happen.
100%. When I had the Y-Bay Championship, I actually pitched for my opponent to take it from me because at the time I didn't think I was going to have it for long, and also I had a very low opinion on myself because of the imposter syndrome. Which was funny because when I messaged the booker, I was like, hey, I think this person should take it from me. It was 3 days after I won the belt. And his response was, can you just enjoy the ride already? But
why do you think it is? What is this? Why do you have this imposter syndrome about yourself where, you know what I mean? You are one of the top trainers in Queensland. You know what I mean? People respect the shit out of you. You're a good performer, but what is it about it? What is it that gets in your head that makes you think that you shouldn't be there?
Honestly, there's a few things with it. I've always, I guess it's my ADHD as well, but it's I've always had a low opinion of myself in my life, but and I think that's just a mental disorder. Like, I do suffer from depression and stuff like that. Like, and that always gets in my head. But I guess it's what happens is I will get something like the NWA tour was a good example,
Yeah.
or Not Fest, or what the PWA booking. I loved doing that. I went to Coliseum. Actually, no, you know what? Coliseum was the only time where I didn't have imposter syndrome. I didn't think I was the best wrestler. I'm just like, nah, man, I'm just gonna enjoy this ride. This is fucking cool. But like, with these things, when I get them, my first thought goes to, I don't deserve this. And I have no idea why I think that, because I do constantly work hard. I work hard. Like, I help build this scene. I help build everything for everyone. But I think I said this on another podcast, and I think it nails how my brain works. I'll do something really good, or work for something and get it, but my brain will tell me it's not enough. It's not enough. Which, in a way, I guess it's helped. Like, it's like using the negative thing for positive. Because when I do that, I just work harder. Like, I'll be hyper focused on trying to get better, and it gets good results. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it just makes me really depressed and, like, a bit sad. Like, but
you get that. Like, I really understand you. And I had this, like, I recorded an interview with a podcast with a buddy of mine on Friday night. And I was saying that kind of the same. I had that same feeling when I did the Impact show, the night 2 of the Impact show. And my wife drove to Wagga with me, and, like, she dropped me off at the venue, and, like, she's like, "Well, you're gonna get out," and I'm like, "No, I don't belong here. I shouldn't. Like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, not like no. Like, let's just fucking turn around. Let's just go back to the hotel, grab our shit, and leave. Like, I want to leave." And she's like, "No, you're fucking going in there, and you're gonna do it. Like, and you're gonna do great because you are. Like, go and do it." And I'm like, fuck. And even, like, the whole thing, I was just standing around going, fuck, I shouldn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just that thing in my head where it's like, I just felt that, like, it was anxiety almost. Like, I just was like, fuck, like, what the fuck?
and that's what it is. It's anxiety. It's like, because I have anxiety too, and like, 100% is that voice in the back of your head that's telling you negative things about yourself while you're doing great things.
Yeah. And look, dude, I was just ring announcing. I'm not fucking, like, had any fucking great, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not, like, the center of, you know what I mean? Like, I know that is one of, like, it's just a small little insignificant thing on the show. But to me, it was like, this is still a big thing that I'm a part of. And I'm fucking like, holy fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. And, like, and I don't know if you got this too, but the worst, that whole theory of, like, the goal should never be where you'd be happy. The journey to the goal should be where you're happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I realized this, like, when I first got on, like, I had hyper focus to get on PWA not once, like, just once, just so I can prove to myself that I could do it. I got on there. I got on the was it one of the show? It was in the COVID, so I can't remember the name of the show. But I remember the moment that finished. I still had that, like, I shouldn't be here. I'm not ready for this, like, kind of thing. But then when I did it, I got through it. I got, it felt good. The match was okay. It could have done some improvement, but it wasn't shitting the bed. That was exactly what I would say, especially with what I did in it. Like, I feel like I was on a good level there. But I remember the first 2 days I was ecstatic. Like, I was like, I fucking did it. Like, I'm so happy. The third day came along and I was like, now what? What do I do now?
Yeah. Like, where do you go from now? Like, what's the next step from there?
Yeah. And then it became like, what if I'm not good enough to get in the second time? And it's like, and I remember thinking to myself, like, how toxic is this? Like,
yeah, but you know what? It's all in your own mind as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's the most fucked up thing about it, is like people, and I'm the same way. Like, I'll go, like after the Impact thing, like, I got anxiety attacks for a week after, because I was just sitting there going like fuck, like, did I fuck up? Did I do this? Like, I didn't know. Like, and then I went, like, the worst thing I did is go watch it back in, because I'm like, oh yeah, I can hear where I fucked up here, and then I stopped. I was just like, nah, no, fuck. Like, okay, cool. Like, I did it. I experienced it. I was there. Okay, cool. Just I'm gonna live with the memory.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah. Just take the experience.
Yeah, dude, but in the same sense, like I would do it 100 times over again. Like, you know what I mean? And I feel like the more times you do it, the more times you're in that situation. And like for even yourself, it's like that imposter syndrome slowly dwindles and goes. And even you said when by the time you did Coliseum, you were just like, I'm gonna fucking enjoy this.
Yeah, it was like when I did Coliseum, I treated it like this is a trip where I'm catching up with friends. A friend of mine helped me get on the show, and like it wasn't in my brain. It wasn't like whether you belong here, whether you earned your way here. It doesn't matter. You're here now. Have fun because these are the memories that you're going to remember later on. And that was the funnest weekend I've ever had in wrestling.
Yeah,
Like I got so drunk after Coliseum the night two, and I tell people like the first two nights they were so fun, and then I was in the Thornbury Theatre on the second night, and then I got really drunk, probably made a mess of myself in front of people, but I don't care.
It's the wrestling business, man. That's what people do. They get drunk.
Jess, Lucille too. She was an animal that night. She was.
Hey, I will not have you like besmirch her good name on this podcast, sir.
I'm not besmirching her. I love her style. She went up to a certain wrestler who takes it very serious, and she's like comes up and goes, "You going to emo night?" And he's like, "Look, I have things to do. I'm like, I'll see you there."
Huge pop.
The worst part is like we got so, and this is what I'm saying. Like, people watch this and you're in wrestling. Please enjoy your trips. Like, don't
100%.
If you have a bad match, just enjoy the rest of the trip. Don't think about it because I still tell people how fun this was. Like, we had breakfast with like all the big names in the show, which was even fun because they're just dudes like us. Like, they're just chill.
Yeah.
And like and some of them are actually good friends of mine already now. But one of the my favorite one was after night two, we were so drunk we didn't get home till I didn't know Melbourne opened up till late. Like that freaked me out because I thought it was like, dude, it's like 5 a.m. What the hell? And then we went back to the place we're staying at, and then we slept for 2 to 3 hours, and then we got up, and then we had to go to the zoo with a couple of mates who we promised would take to the zoo. And I can't tell you like how rock star we must have looked with the big glasses on, like walking through.
Mate, the smell of that place would have had me like, nah, I'm good. I'd be like, I'm good, fam. I'm gonna sit this one out.
Well, the cold weather of Melbourne made me feel better because when I'm like that, I like being like cooled down and everything like that. I remember we walked through the butterfly sanctuary where it's like completely warm, and like the people with us like, look how beautiful these butterflies. It's just me looking like, I hate this.
Just going all pale and shit, and you just feel like, I can feel that someone's going to be calling some dinosaurs now.
Yeah, it's funny, but because like, and then this is what I'm trying to say about the memories. Like, I'll look back on that and I'll laugh. I'm like, yeah, you know what? That was fun. Like, even if like I was hungover, I think that was it's such a memory I'm going to remember now.
Yeah, man. Like, I think like even when you do road trips and stuff like that, like there's so many like fun experiences that you can have in the business. And I feel like in wrestling, there's a lot of like at times there can be a lot of toxic shit. But like I think as well, like you've got to really step back and look at the good experiences because I feel like everyone has good experiences in this business. Like, and if you're only having bad, then maybe you shouldn't be here.
I mean, yeah, like I mean, we're very similar. And how old are you now, mate? You can just give
40,
me a round.
41. 41. I'm 41. Yeah, 41.
I'm 37 this year, and I don't know if this happened to you, but when you start getting into that late 30s, it like you stop taking things like I need to get this done. I need to be at this like me, for example. Like there is no part of my brain that thinks I'm going to get signed because of my age and what I'm doing currently in life and what I'm trying to build. I can't build that trying to go off and get signed. So I have no issue with that. So my thing is now, like especially at 37, realizing I've got 3 years till I'm 40, and then who knows how long I'm going to wrestle after that. It's like now I need to start making memories.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And like, do you remember like a little while ago, there was like some random, I think, Facebook page called the Wrestling Veteran who was like, yeah, don't take photos at shows, like, or with people like that. And it was like everyone got upset about it. And
Mm.
everyone was like, doing this hashtag take the photo and stuff like that. And my whole thing was like, why do you all give a fuck what some person who hide behind a fucking like tech, like it's a burner account essentially? Like what, like why do you give a fuck behind like someone who's like not even putting their own fucking face to this shit? Why do you care? Like,
Uh,
who gives a fuck? Like, if I saw someone asking someone else for a photo at a show, I'd be like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't really I wouldn't give a fuck to think anything negative of it. I'd be like, all right. Like, I wouldn't even think anything. I'd just be like, okay, whatever. Good luck to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've yet to meet someone who's a big name who who does care about that stuff. Like yeah, everyone was sharing it and then sharing their photo of like like the big stars were showing photos of that. And that's cool. I have some photos. I have photos with a couple of big names, but now we'll
Yeah.
just before I got the photo, I literally hung out with them. We just chatted and like got a few drinks, and then I just said, "Hey, you want to ever get a photo? I just like to remember like these sort of things." Um, I, of all the photos I shared when I met Mr. Kennedy, and the reason I did it was not because I was like, "This is my photo." It
Yeah.
was, or I mean, I guess I did, but like, it wasn't like, "Ha, suck it, angry vet." I shared it with that tweet from Angry Vet because the face I'm pulling is the most embarrassing photo of me I've ever seen. Like, I don't smile like that. I look so horrible.
Mm.
And Kennedy's looking all serious behind me, and it pops me like so much. I remember I put it up saying, first time I met Mr. Kennedy, I asked for a photo, and he told me a really good story of where the asshole promo came from. And then I wrote down the bottom is like, the only thing I regret about it is that face.
But you know what, man? I don't know. Like, I don't go and ask for photos and stuff like that. Just, I don't know. Like, it's just something I don't do. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do it with my friends that I'm on shows with. It's like, hey, let's get a photo. This has been a fun show. It's like, let's take a photo we can remember and look back and put on Facebook, and we'll have a memory there. Like, you know what I mean? Like that sort of shit. That's what I like to do. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, people I don't know, like, and I've never really been that around like any type of celebrity. It's like, yeah, I need a photo with you to prove that I've met you. Like, I don't know. But I'm cool with people who want to do that and remember that experience. Go for it. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like,
No, 100%. Like the Mr. Kennedy for is a good example, and I back this because a lot of people told me like, "Oh, you don't ask for photos and stuff like that." When I did it, and I said, "You don't understand. I didn't give a fuck if it was Carlito or Chavo Guerrero or I don't care if it was John Cena. Like Mr. Kennedy was one off, if not at the time my favorite wrestler. It was my favorite character. It was like, there's no way I'm going to ignore teenage me not getting that photo. I would, and if he said no, I would have been like, okay, cool, man. Thank you anyway. It was still a pleasure to meet you, but there was no way I was going to pass that opportunity because I'll treasure it now.
Oh, 100%, dude. Like, but it's funny, like, when Luke Hawks was down here filming Young Rock, like, because he knew a lot of the guy, like, from back in America that I knew, like, that I was podcasting with, like, Angel and stuff like that. And Angel's like, hey, my boy Luke Hawks is in Australia. Go hang out with him. Go take him out for lunch or something. Show him Sydney. I'm like, all right, cool, fucking. So I was hanging out with Luke Hawks, and I was like, oh, I want, and even Angel, I was like saying, I was like, oh, I was going to ask for it to get a photo, but I thought not. He's like, why not? He goes, it's not like you're a mark at a show that you're on going, oh, let's get a photo. It's like you guys were hanging out. It's like you kind of established a friendship of your own there. It's like, hey, let's get a photo. Remember this shit by. He's like, and Angel, who was a veteran of like 30 years, he's like, dude, no, like, fuck it. He goes, if anyone thinks of you as a mark for getting a photo with one of the boys, like, nah, man. He goes, just don't do it in a mark way, going, I'm a huge fan. Can I get a photo, please? Like, just be cool and chill about it. And he goes, no one's going to have a fucking problem with you. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Hey, if anyone watches this, like, going back really quickly on WCW,
yeah,
I get like a lot of, so I have a saying around here, and it's, I rip it off from Eric Bischoff all the time. So when a lot of people reach out to the tour shows we're talking about, or like NWA or Lucha Fantastica or like PWA and stuff like that,
Yeah.
They, for the past 2 years, have been getting pushed. Oh, you need to talk to Bobby. Oh, you need to talk to Bobby. Or you need to go to 3 count. You need to go to 3 count. There's a WCW episode out there where Eric Bischoff, it's when they're winning the ratings like so massively. He comes out on stage with big, I think he had glasses on or something like that, on a motorbike or something, and he just
And the
says,
motorbike came down on like a like chains or something. And he was like,
yeah,
I
and he
remember.
goes, "It feels so good to be king." And
I remember that. I remember watching that on TV. I remember watching that.
yeah, same. But I can't find the episode because I want to gift that so I could use it every time like something like this happens. And then it's anyone out there can find that episode and gif it for me. Please send it to Cult Classic. Well, no, the Undeniable Bobby Bishop Instagram, and I'll fucking upload it.
Yeah, dude, that is fucking like, yeah, that is. I remember that. That is like one of the most iconic moments as well.
It is like, imagine like, because like wrestling always blurs the line between reality and stuff like that. But imagine being on a show where you're destroying your competition,
Yeah,
and then having the balls. Like obviously they've kayfabed it where he can get away with it, but having the balls to be legitimately like, it feels so good to be king, and literally point at the camera, knowing what you're actually pointing at is the opposition that are losing to you.
but you know what? Like, do you remember the Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels promo where like Shawn like goes, "Hey man, you've been having some sunny days, my friend."
Oh yeah,
It's like, oh, like that's a level of just like.
Some of those promos, like, I mean, and I watch a lot of those old promos because there's some legitimacy to how they deliver stuff. It's amazing. Like, one of my key things around here when people put, I think you were talking to Dusk about this,
Yeah.
where they sit, talk to the camera, and it's just tone constantly the same the whole time. Like, in wrestling, there are gears to a match. There's a slow part, there's a fast part, there's a slow part, there's a faster part. There's different gears. I get so angry when I see promos that don't have that, because I feel like we're at a stage now where we can do so much great editing, we can do stuff like that,
100%.
but we're losing that ability to talk in wrestling. Like we can make highlight reels, we can do I make a lot of content stuff. It wasn't until I won the Y-Bay heavyweight champion, well, it's heavyweight, Y-Bay championship belt. I hate that word. I decided to start doing talk to cameras. All my promos we watch, when I fucking say a point, I'm screaming it almost. Like I'm making sure whatever word that is so important in my sentence, it's punctuated so loud that you won't forget I said it. And the other context would be slower. And then that's right, boom, to the point. When you look back in those days, like, what was the best one? Do you remember when they did a storyline with Bret Hart? And this is what everyone should be watching. They should be watching promos leading up to a bigger promo to see 100%. The story they're telling.
The evolvement. So
remember when Bret Hart pushed Vince McMahon?
Yes. Around that was like just in the lead up to some
WrestleMania.
No, was it WrestleMania? Yeah, it was. It was the lead up to WrestleMania 13 with Austin. That's right.
Yeah, him and Austin. When he screamed and he like everyone in the back knows it, everybody at home knows it. I'm the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. And he's screaming it. And like you can blur the lines or whatever, but whether it was true or not, there is no part of my brain that's telling me that's not fake. Like he does not actually no part of my brain is telling me that he doesn't believe that for real because of the way he delivered it.
And you know what? I felt the same way a few years ago when I saw the Miz and Daniel Bryan doing talking smack and the Miz, like you could see tears like just welling up, his emotion, like going, people saying that I can't wrestle. I've been here for 13 fucking years and never been injured. you know what I mean? Like I've been here, I've done that, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know what? In the same sense, like any like wrestler who was wanting to going in to break into the WWE, you'd want to have a career like what the Miz has had, because he's just been consistent. And he's consistently on TV for the entire time he's been there.
Yeah, 100%. One of the sorry, my dog just went off before for some reason. No, like that promo too. Have you ever seen the part? Like, I call it part 2. Is when he won the belt of Drew McIntyre.
Miz?
They did a. It's on YouTube. I don't think they actually went on the show. This is a great thing of like evolution of promos.
Yeah.
Because we already seen Miz when he snapped and he decided like I'm going to take this fucking seriously now because no one's taking me fucking seriously. I'm going to take this more. And like honestly, I think it was like I remember people were talking about Dolph Ziggler versus the Miz Intercontinental title match that happened after that promo.
Yes.
And they did the CM Punk like match thing where he got tapped out in a few moments. But the best part about it I noticed online was everyone was talking about it because everyone fucking paid attention once he did that promo. Because it clicked with everyone how good the Miz actually was in that moment. Like they realized he's right. We've been like kind of neglecting this guy. This guy's actually been here constantly for 13 years and he's never fucking doled out. He's just been a constant worker of the show. When when he won the beat Drew McIntyre, I think it was like a Money in the Bank thing. He did this promo backstage, and it's on YouTube. It's like post-match promo where he has same intensity, but he blows up and he's what's the words he says? It's like I know there's people online going, the Miz doesn't deserve this. Cry. Like just blasting like TikTok, Twitter and shit like that. Like he's like crying. And he referenced like 10 years ago, I won this belt and there was a Miz girl in the crowd. And I hope and I pray to God that there are millions of Miz girls right now in the world because you can whine and whinge about me, but that shit lights my fire. And like fucking sold me. I immediately was just like, he's never gonna not be great.
But that's the thing. It's like, but when you can take that real emotion and you can dial it into what you're doing, and you can make the audience that you're delivering that to like believe what you're doing is like real raw emotion. That is like like I feel like that's something every person in the business aspires to have a moment like that.
100%. And like it's been noted how bullied in a way the Miz was. For him to say that, like that line, especially where he says, like, people whinging about me, that shit lights my fire. I mean, realistically, look at how hard he's worked for 13 years with all that being bullied and being like almost politicked out of
and no selling it, because if he sold it, he would have been fucking gone a long time ago.
Yeah, he just took it and is like, no, I'm gonna fucking beat these people by being successful. And that like, when he says those lines in that promo, like whether you are thinking about those stories or not, your brain as like obviously it's switching on to what you've heard previously. You immediately believe it because legit he probably really believes that.
Yeah, man, and like that's the thing where like his emotion into it and that deliverance into it, and like you even see that like who else was it? I feel like when like we're talking about WCW, remember Bill DeMott when he was like General Rection and he won the US title and he had that big moment, and then it was like the entire WCW roster like fell out onto the stage and like just basically gave him this massive amount of respect and his flowers, and it was like just was like wow, like he was really respected backstage, that they gave him this massive moment on television where the entire roster came out and just like gave him a standing ovation. Like that's kind of like, and like hearing his sort of promo and that, and you sort of watch it and you go, fuck man, like yeah, like you can sort of relate to that going, yeah man, like if I was in that thing I'd be emotional too. And you can feel that emotion, like you can almost cut it, you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's like when wrestling captures that, fuck, it's good.
100%. And I think the biggest thing now is like I feel like people watch these promos who are wrestlers now, and I'm not saying on big shows. I don't really I tend to watch everyone's promos that are on social media because I really. By the way, Piers, your promos are really like I really do enjoy your character. By the way, so don't think I'm talking about you when I say this because I think me and Jess watched one year managing things with Nathan, and we were like, you know what, Piers is really good actually because I never actually watched it until right now because it popped up on that thing.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. But I watch a lot of promos, and I feel like people will reference promo. Like I can tell what structure they look or what promo they've watched and they're trying to emulate into their thing. They're just missing the realism. They're not the gear changes. Then they don't believe what they're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
It's that little part that's missing, and it's that little part that collapses all the other parts that makes it unbelievable. And realistically, like an example, I know this has probably been said before, but you know when people say "fuck" all the time in their promos,
Yeah.
like
I was guilty of doing that early on. Like it was like constantly, and then like we'd be recording, and like Nathan's thing was like, dude, that's who we are. We're fucking like that's how we fucking talk. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's his response. He's like, nah, fuck it. Like just keep doing it. And I'm like, nah, but we got to appeal to like. But anyway, yeah, like I get it.
So one of my things is, and I think me and Todd Eastman talked about this a long time ago, and it's funny because I had the same mindset when he said it, and I actually told him my opinion on it, which was close to his. The issue we had an 18+ show here, and I guess companies like DMDU and are kind of responsible for it now. Like, not responsible, like I mean, are having the same issue with their talent as well, and a couple other shows. When you give the wrestler freedom to say whatever swear word they want, well, what they want in their promos, giving them so much freedom, they lose how to make that swearing important. And an example is I did a promo. Well, I was in a storyline where Jess had a neck like damaged by one of my opponents, and I had purposely not swore in any of my promos, like ever, because the Retro Kids and Man Child is also friendly and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I realized this was a golden opportunity for me to drop something for once because I was that pissed at this guy. And then instead of going in there going, you fucking motherfucker, I'm going to fucking, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'd cut the promo, went blah, brought up, and I threw all the gears out of me getting angry, screaming at first, calming down, and then saying, I'm not coming there to beat you. No, I'm coming there to fucking kill you. I said one swear word.
But it makes you it grabs the attention.
Yeah, and it meant more when I said, I could have said kill you, or I could have said fuck you, I'm going to kill you, like that kind of stuff. Fuck you, I'm going to kill you does not sound as threatening as I'm going to fucking kill you.
Yeah, like it's a promise. Like it's a guarantee. I'm gonna fuck you up. Like it's gonna happen.
It's literally it's basically putting a stamp on what you're saying you're going to do, basically.
The heavy emphasis on it, you know what I mean? And I feel like, like the overuse of it, like swearing can kind of then just, okay, whatever. Like they're just going to keep swearing. But you know what? It's kind of like the promo pictures of wrestlers that go, like that's their promo picture of like them sticking your finger up. You know what I mean? Like, okay, that's kind of generic. Like, I'm sorry. Like, and if people do that, I'm sorry. I'm not attacking anyone particular in saying that. I've seen it a lot, and it's just like, do something else.
What was that Fed Anarchy Pro, right? And this is not an attack on the
Adelaide. The one in Adelaide that was
Melbourne. Was it Anarchy Pro? The one that was in the DMDU venue.
Was that the one where like they were training people at the park and shit, and like the
no, that's Rev. No, that was the Adelaide one. No, this one was it was Anarchy Pro. It was in Melbourne. It was in the DMDU venue. They only ran one show.
Okay,
yeah. It was one of the fans of DMDU. I think he became a promoter and stuff like that. Like, I can't remember his name, but I don't really want to drop his name anyway. Because I don't want any negativity towards anyone. But their poster, oh my god! Like, I just remember seeing it when you're talking about the generic, like that thing.
Yeah, like but I've seen like wrestlers who do it. They just stand there and like that's their thing where they're just like, okay, man, we get it. You're a badass. Like, cool.
Yeah, but my favorite part, like all these generic things, is on the poster. There was a poster that had like 6 people on it, and about 4 or 5 of them were doing this. And it could. I remember looking at it as like, I can't believe no one's picked up on that. Like, why has every single person got their tongue out?
But you know, I was actually talking to a friend of mine, and we were like, you know what we should do? We should do like all the poses like that, like you know what I mean? Like I think women wrestlers, like females, do like pretty much the same 3 poses, and everyone does it. And there's always like the one where like they're standing backwards and they're looking back, like showing off the ass. And then there's like the, you know, I mean, like there's the 3 poses every female in wrestling always does. And I'm not saying that as a diss. I'm just saying is like, it's just funny because it's like, could you imagine 3?
No,
like,
no, I get what you mean because us guys, we all have the same generic. Like we have the 4 or 5 ones. I think we do.
Yeah.
What's Angry Vet Jack Vaughn? His videos make me laugh.
Oh,
And
I
like when people
love that shit.
I love when people get annoyed at him because like, dude, that's his gimmick. His gimmick is being like an angry vet, like you know what I mean, like the one that criticizes indie wrestling. He literally does indie wrestling. He my favorite part is what is it, like the guy goes to super kick him, he catches it, slaps his thigh, throws it down, and then super kicks him. Like how you like watching that immediately unlocked what type of character he is. He's like, it's funny because he's doing the vet thing, like. But he recently did. He did one with all the poses as well, or like that.
Did he?
Yeah, all of them, and they're really funny.
I love the one where he was sitting there and he's like, "This is a message to all wrestlers, both professional and indie." It's like a huge pop, and it's like, but he is though. But I feel like even people who get angry at it still watch his shit to get angry at it, and it's like for the most part, fans just go, "This is fucking funny," because like we go to shows and like he's making fun of the shit we see. But it's like the fans don't even realize he's making fun of the shit that they pay money to go and watch every week. Like,
yeah. I remember there was one he's talking about a strike off, and it's people going boom in the ring, and the other goes boom, like boom, and he goes indie strike off. They're like look at each other, nod, get out of the ring, go grab 2 chairs in the fan where the fans sit down, and go. And the worst part is, the funny part about it is, like, that's actually something I don't like when I watch wrestling. I don't mind if you're in a match where it's just who's tougher storyline. But like, I think I was watching a lot of Aussie wrestling recently and a lot of like indie shows, and I saw that spot nearly on every single show, and then like it almost got to a point of like, it's kind of redundant now, isn't it? Like, if you've done it so many times.
well, but the thing is as well, like, and I've seen this on shows as well, like that you'll see people use the same move on the show. Like, I mean, like it'll be certain things like, and it might be only something small, like a cannonball, right? But I've been on a show and I've literally seen like 4 out of 8 matches someone's done a cannonball, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, and look, it's not like a finishing move or a dramatic moment in any of the matches, but it's like it's still the little things where I'm just like, yeah, but the fans have already seen someone do that, and it's not like something. It's not a move that you would see in every single match anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely understand you with that because like my matches when we're talking about how I wrestle safely, I do an airplane spin. And I love doing it. Like, if any promoter books me in a Rumble, they will 100% get a message from me saying, "Can I do the Terry Funk ladder, but with an airplane, where everyone runs into it?" It's my favorite spot. But when you said like super kicks, all that stuff, you see all these like wrestlers doing the same moves, and no one calls anyone out like we've seen this before or anything like that. But my airplane spin, one night I was in the opening match, the opening of the show.
Yeah.
And I did the airplane. And like we always get told to watch each other's matches and stuff like that, which I always do. I try and watch and see what people are going to do. But with my wrestling, it's very, like I said, Dusty Rhodes, John Cena, basic stuff, because I want to try and interact with the crowd more.
Yeah.
I hit the airplane, got over. It was like it normally does, like, like that kind of thing. It was 3 matches later. It was a tag team match. And he's not wrestling anymore, but he was a very newish guy who came from like Lance Storm Academy. He was in good shape. But he's one of those wrestlers, like he looks like $1 million, but doesn't know what works for him yet. And
Still figuring it out.
yeah, he's still figuring it out. And I feel bad for the guy because he went out there and, like, you know, people repeat their moves all the time. Like I said, swantons and shit like that, especially in Queensland wrestling back in the day.
Yeah.
This guy picked up his opponent and thought, I'll do an aeroplane spin because they'll interact with the crowd. He didn't watch my match, by the way. He spun him, no noise. And then people said, that's Bobby's move. And it made me laugh because it's like, I've done that. I've been the only person who's done that move so many times, like in every match, that now when someone's actually doing it in their match, they're like, that's Bobby's move.
But you know what? That's the crowd. It's obviously now that are protective of your character. The fact that they come to shows, they want to see you do that. They don't want to see someone be Bobby Bishop Light, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the thing, like with people like I hit a senton, senton in my match. I do that because I'm a biggish boy and it works with my airplane smash on the ground, pop them basically. Because I like to have something at the end of the airplane to show that there's a bump at the end. Like it's not just a childish thing. It's a dizzy. They scream like they can scream girlish or scream whatever they want to do. Boom, hit him. Every time we've been on the show, like and I tell people like this all the time. Don't be afraid to go up to a person and don't have a go at them. Talk to them. If you see they're going to do a move that you already do, just chat to them. It's like, dude, I already do that move. I've done it so many times here. And he's like, if it's like, I think it's a good example was, I wrestled on a show recently where my finisher looks very similar to another, what the actually promoter who, Booker who wrestles his finisher. And I purposely avoided, I wasn't going to actually hit the finisher in the match, but I was going to tease it. Like, so I like teasing it and then they get out, like that kind of thing. I purposely changed my finisher up. Like I didn't hit anything, but I just changed. I turned into a rock bottom basically. It was a pile. My original one was a pile driver. His is a power bomb. It looks the same, but
same setup. Yeah. Like,
yeah. So I try to be very actively self-aware, trying not to copy on people because like my shit's been ripped off of wrestlers who aren't here anymore or like, I mean, in Australia anymore. And who I watched back in the day, or people that inspired me that don't really wrestle anymore. Like my what do you call it? My discus clothesline, Nigel McGuinness, like that kind of stuff. But what was I going to say? On these shows where people come, don't be afraid to go up and have a chat with them and explain the situation. Like, dude, these are my move sets. They've been here for a while. Can you not do this move, please? And most times when this conversation happens, it's because it's a person who hasn't been on that show before.
Yeah.
So the most likely result you're going to get is they're going to be like, oh, absolutely, man. Don't worry. I'll figure something else to do. Like,
yeah. And if you can't, like, then that's on you for not being creative enough to be able to. But like in the same sense, like I feel like if the performer who's been on that promotion for a longer time, then yeah, they should have precedent. Like if you're just coming into that promotion as a one-off or new into the promotion, then yeah, you've got to like pay respect.
Yeah, 100%. Like an example would be like if I went on a show, like. Yeah, like if it can work both ways too. Like if I hit a pile driver, I hit a discus lariat, and stuff like that. Like if I hit this lariat, what else to do? I did the airplane. Now, Mark Davis used to do the airplane. If he came back to Australia and he said, "I'm going to hit the airplane," I'm like, you know what, man, that's cool. That's your move. I'm not going to do that.
I'll do. But I feel like everyone has sort of borrowed their shit from someone at some point in you know what I mean? Like wrestling has been recycled so many times over. Like, so that's why when I see original shit, like I see something that I haven't seen in wrestling and I go, oh damn, yeah, that's pretty good. Like, but for the most part, like I feel like if you've been even a fan of wrestling for long enough, like, and you're watching wrestling consistently, like unless there's something spectacular that happens on a match or a card, you're not really going to be overly impressed. Like, you're not going to be going, oh, wow, that was, you know what I mean? But like, you'll be like, oh, it's a wrestling show. But like, unless you see something overly spectacular because it's different, then you'll have people talking.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what's like nothing's unique that you have a claim to it. Like if someone comes in, they want to hit a move that you already hit, you can have a conversation with them. If someone who's a big name that's like well known for it, you haven't got a fighting chance to convince them. You need to start like you need to be willing to be like, okay, I need to be creative now, like, and not do it. And it's been times like fuck me, if there was a match that had Mark Davis, Colt Cabana, Ryan Eagles with his discus lariat, and fucking who else? Like Bonza, like all that stuff. Who like I hit some moves from. Fuck me, I wouldn't have a move set. I'd just have to be. I would be a completely different wrestler. Like, you know what I mean?
100%. But like, I feel like you would be like you're a creative enough person that you could sort of make anything work on it. Like you'd be like, I can sort of work something out.
Yeah. I just be like I said to most of the guys here, just be willing to work differently if you have to. But like, no, what's the word? Like, no one remembers the moves unless the move is a gimmick. Like to your character, I mean. Like Alpaca Adam has the gator roll. Everyone's gonna know that because it suits his character. Do you know what I mean? No one's gonna remember the really cool move that doesn't get the 1, 2, 3. Like people remember when Buddy Murphy won the fucking cruiserweight title.
Cruiserweight title. Yeah.
I remember when that happened, and they were having a training session about moments and moves. What's the difference? And someone said Buddy Murphy winning the cruiserweight title, and I'm like, how does that work? Like? What do you mean by that? Tell me what he did in the match. And I legit went, I don't remember. All I remember is him hitting his finisher and winning the belt because that was a really big moment. And then they use that example, like that's what you should be aiming for. I mean, I'm not saying go win a belt, but you need to find something that means more than a move in the match because people remember matches that way. Like I remember Brock Lesnar versus Undertaker, Unforgiven 2002. You know why I remember that match? Because he threw fucking Brock Lesnar through the Unforgiven sign.
Yeah, but like but even like Kurt Angle versus Shane McMahon, like in that, like you know what I mean? That sort of thing. The only thing I remember in that match was him like trying to throw Shane through the fucking, I think it was No Mercy or something like that, like trying to throw him through the No Mercy sign. Didn't work. Threw him again, and like,
you know, Undertaker, I mean, like Dead Men Rise, right there.
Yeah,
like another example. Like people remember, like who was, I can't remember who it was. I think it was like a good example would be Booker T versus Undertaker. Now this is getting really old here because I remember these matches, but I remember Booker T hitting his big scissor kick and then doing the fucking pose, and then the dead man rose up, and it was such a good moment because it was like, holy fuck, it's like kind of like reaction on his face.
Well, that's where I think Booker T is one of those people, which is like his character work and reaction and facials. He's like always been so good, and like I heard him go, the only difference in my entrance when I'm a baby face or a heel is like when I'm a baby face, I smile when I come out.
Yeah.
And he goes, and the only difference when I do a promo is when I'm a baby face, I direct my anger towards my opponent. But when I'm a heel, I direct my anger towards the audience.
It's really sweet.
And I'm like, and it's just like, fuck. And you go back and watch him work as a heel and as a baby face, and you pay attention to that close thing, and you're like, holy shit, yeah, I can, yeah, now I notice it. But it's like when you're a fan, like when you're that sort of in the moment as a fan watching it, you kind of go, like, you don't see the intricacies of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's the thing too. When I was a fan of wrestling, I didn't mind Booker T, but he wasn't really my favorite wrestler or one of my top favorite wrestlers.
Yeah.
When I learned wrestling and I watched him, he became one of my favorite wrestlers because I also realized how charismatic he was. I also realized how fucking like not stiff. Like I think Austin said it most. Like the man can throw. Like
yeah,
it looks like he's messing you up.
Yeah, 100%. Like he looks fucking brutal when he strikes and everything he does. Like, but that's one of the things. Like I'm the same way. Like with Bobby the Brain Heenan. Like I was never like a massive Heenan fan, and like in the last probably year, like I've really sort of watched a lot of Bobby Heenan and just how he sort of delivers. But like I got shown a promo of Bobby Heenan's. It was like before he went to the Fed and like before he became the Brain, and he's like, you see him do this promo and he's like so young and he's like just becoming a manager. He goes, blah, blah, and he goes, because I am Bobby the Mind Heenan, and it's like and it was like he had something there, and like he just hadn't figured out what he was doing. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like you see certain wrestlers of like, as well. Like you can see when their character or their ring performance, like you can see they've got something there, but they just haven't really figured out what it is.
Yeah, look, that's the thing. Like in wrestling, especially, like when I talk about these moments or these promos, like when you start wrestling or when you start training to be a wrestler, you think it's just learning bumps, learning moves. You didn't realize when you sign up to be a wrestler how thespian actor-esque level of tangents that you would need to go on to figure little things out in wrestling. Like I always put him over. Edward Dusk is 100% a guy who has figured it who he is. He figured out so quickly. Like I mean, I remember when we had our rivalry, I was talking about promos, and the dude was just breaking it down to me. And like I remember when he did it, I was like, this guy has figured it out. Like he's figured out. I'm on my way to figuring out, but he's there. And and I'm going to learn something from this because he absolutely knows his shit. He knows what works for his character. He knows what reactions. Like I remember when we were talking about a match, he was describing why these things were like. He wanted to do this thing in this. Like breaking down the match, he was telling the plan. And normally when we tell plan, like we just go for it. Like do this. You know, I'll get angry, run over. His description was like, you're going to be angry because this happened earlier, and that's going to convey this reaction out of you. And then you're going to come over and hit, and then I'm going to be infuriated that you're not dead. Like, it's
that's like breaking down the overall performance of it. And dude, I spoke with Brody Marshall, and he told me a story how he spun out when it was like, you know, he saw Riddle when Riddle was down here. Like, and it's like Riddle was doing his match and he's trying to work it out. He's like, right, I'll come out and I'll do this. And then after I hit this move, the crowd's going to go, bro, 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 bro. So when that happens, you stay down, you let me get that moment. And then after a moment of that chant, you come and get your heat, you take me. And it was like, and Brody Marshall's like, this guy knew exactly. And fair enough, he was right. He hits this move, the crowd, bro, you know what I mean? He gets his bro chant. He's like, it was the wildest thing to see this guy plan his match out and go, yep, so we're going to pause here for the bro chant. Then we're going to, you know what I mean? Like, and he was just like, just knowing, he goes, he just knew how to control the audience, how to do these things. And it's like, it's, beautiful thing to see.
It's like, I talked to my friend, one of my wrestling friends who doesn't wrestle anymore about this all the time. He wrestled Mark Davis in one of his final matches. And this conversation happened because I was always told, listen to the crowd. So you like Matt Riddle does, like he understands what's going to happen because he's listened to the crowd. He knew what moments to implement things. It took me 4, maybe 5 years. And then one day when I was doing a match, and everyone says like, people get feedback from the match. There's a moment where a vet will say, you should have gone home here, or you should have done this. And they can say that, and you can kind of understand what they mean when they explain it to you, but you don't understand because you're not listening to the crowd like they are. And I remember I was in this match with this guy, and for the first time, I could hear the crowd, and I heard when it hit the peak of the crowd. When the crowd was there, they were ready to go. And I remember trying to like on the fly talk to the guy, being like, let's go home. Let's go home right now. I can hear this. Like, this is ready to go. He didn't listen. We kept going, and it wasn't as good as it could have been. But in that moment, the moment it clicked, I understood completely what vets were saying when they said, listen to the crowd. Like, you got to work the crowd, but you got to listen to it as well. And now in my matches, when people like, I'm going to do this, like, like the Ryback, like not Ryback, like the Shawn Michaels stomp before he hits a super kick.
Yeah, the build.
the build. When it hits that peak, that should be the moment you're turning around so you can finish the kick. When you start listening to things, you learn how to do timing as well. And it blew my mind because like these are the things that like a lot of trainees will hear, or sorry, newbies and wrestlers, they'll hear it like slow down, you're doing too much, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They don't understand, and it's probably a communication thing. Like when they say slow down, you're doing too many moves and stuff like that. They're not saying cut your moves. They're saying let them breathe. Like you hit a big combo, boom, 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 stay down. Let the crowd literally take in what you just did and then understand, holy shit, that was cool. Because the moment you move is the moment they're like, oh, what's he going to do now? Like that kind of, they won't pay attention to what just happened.
It's the same thing with like stand-up comedians. When you see a stand-up comedian they deliver a joke, they don't just continually talk. They're like, they stop, they wait to get that reaction, the crowd to sort of drink in what they've just heard, react to it, and give him like you'll give that moment to the comedian, and then he goes, or they go into the next spot or next joke.
Yeah, 100%. And like that was what weirded me out. Like when I started learning this stuff, it's like it's hard too, because I'll tell like my trainees this, but they still don't understand what I mean by it. Like when we're trying to teach them when I watch their matches, like I can tell with a look on their faces when I'm telling them, they're going, "Oh yeah, man, I get it." Like, no, you don't. Like I've pulled that face before, but
so you think you get it, but you really don't, champ.
Yeah. But my friend who wrestled Mark Davis, it was one of his last matches here before he moved to the UK.
Yeah,
he said he thought he was really good. He thought he could hear the crowd. And then he wrestled Mark Davis, and they were doing like the big strike off thing. And then he tried to go into the next spot, and Davis stopped. He's like, no, shh, listen. And it was in that moment, he's like, he said, like, holy fuck, I can hear the crowd. When he did that to me, I could hear what he could hear. It's like he's on another level. But when he did that, it clicked, and I was there. And it's like, and the only sad part about it was that was my last match.
Oh, dude, that's so. But like, you know, it's understanding those moments, and I feel like that's where like we see like the indie scene, which is very fast paced and stuff like that. And I had this conversation with someone not too long ago, and they were sort of saying, "Oh, the indie style of wrestling is no good." I'm like, "Well, no, it actually is, because it has a place, because people want to see it." I go, the thing is, it's just like it doesn't, like the indie style, the high flying, the flippy shit, what the spot fest, whatever it is, it has a place.
Yeah,
it has a place. And wrestling it should be a buffet where it's like, okay, cool, you don't like the comedy match, then you're gonna like the flippy match or the spot match. You don't like that, then you're gonna like the hardcore, or the these two big dudes beating the shit out of each other, or you like, you know what I mean? Like there's should be something for everybody on a card. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely. I'm gonna quote who said it, because in case you gift this and put it up and then someone shares it and then like by some miracle he sees it. But I heard a podcast with Hurricane Helms talking about this, and his explanation is amazing. Some people like drama movies. Some people like kung fu movies. At the end of the day, they're still movies.
100%.
Yeah. You don't 100%. Have to like dramas. I like kung fu movies. I also like historical films sometimes. I don't really like romance movies. Like I don't mind comedy ones, but not really romance. But I'm not going to be like, you watch romance? That's not a real movie.
Yeah. That's but it's and again, I've had this conversation many times where wrestling is looked at in like, and we talk about redheaded stepchildren. Wrestling is the redheaded stepchild of the entertainment world, and you know just how fans and of the business really treat it and react to it. Because I feel like wrestling is like this, it's an enigma to itself. Like even fans of wrestling are like no other fans of anything else in the world, like of sport or movies or anything like that, whether that be good, bad, or indifferent. Like you take that for the way that it is, like your interpretation of it. But like I feel like wrestling fans are like, they're not like fans of like football, you know what I mean? Like they may enjoy that, but like hardcore wrestling fans, man, like they're on a different level.
No,
other
no,
fancy sponsorship.
you're absolutely right. Like Star Wars fans, like you know, the hardcore Star Wars fans.
Yeah, man. I've heard they can be some toxic motherfuckers, bro.
Like wrestling fans.
Mm.
There's a correlation with that, isn't it? It's because there's something that someone is so passionate about that they will gatekeep it. And
Mm.
like I don't agree with gatekeeping, even though apparently I'm the biggest gatekeeper in this fucking state. Uh, but
Really? Well, that's been an
no,
accusation someone's thrown
not
at you?
no, not really. More so like I don't know. I probably shouldn't have segued with that because I wasn't trying to. But
Yeah, that's all good.
the gatekeeping thing is, I've obviously been looking after Queensland wrestling for a while, and like I like the 3 count school for the touring thing where people have to go to the 3 count school and stuff like that,
Mm.
or they have to be approved by us. Like the problem is when I started in wrestling and when I was watching all the shit unfold, I didn't have a high opinion on myself. I knew I wasn't great
Yeah.
at the time, but I knew people who were supposed to be, who are good were supposed to be a lot care a lot bit more than they did for the people who were coming up. When I got in the position I am, I just, not gatekeep, but more safeguarded the Queensland scene. I make sure the big shows, like I'll contact people if someone. I'm trying to word it. I don't know how to explain, but you've been to a show where someone's misbehaved, or I mean done something really fucked, and then they'll go to another show, and then by all rights, someone from that show will warn them about that behavior. The issue with a lot of the companies I work for is they don't know a lot what's going on in the scene. They don't know what's happening outside the scene. So I have a tendency to have to warn people that people have been cancelled, people who've been, like that kind of stuff before they even consider them for the show. Because if they get on the show or they even considered, like, I don't want any bad comments. I don't want people to think I don't want people to think that we're trying to be ignorant. So my job is to make sure I sort of stay on top of that. And the issue with that is also I try to make sure we stay on top of people training, people with the right attitude, people who aren't like toxic fucking dickheads backstage. And I try and make sure that everything stays in balance. So there's a good morale backstage is a good thing. People who are properly trained getting on the show. Now, the issue with doing all this work and having a school that's very successful is a lot of people who don't attend our school will tend to think me and pretty much everyone who trains with us are elitists or cliquey. And the worst part is none of us are like, I will walk up to every single person at a show and have a conversation or shake their hand and just chat with them because I'm happy to make people feel like we're open to everyone.
Yeah.
The problem with being having success and doing the right thing is you're going to, from the perception of other people, will think that you're just being a dick and not allowing them to get what they think they deserve. And that's their ego talking. They can't be honest with themselves saying, I'm not on these big shows because I'm not putting in the work that these guys are. And unfortunately, it's a wrestler's curse, honestly.
But you know what, man? Like the people that like it comes down to jealousy, Bobby, for the most part, and that's something like I used to be the same way. Like, as soon as someone would throw me a bit of shade or like, this is shit pod, whatever it may be, I'd be like so quick to fire back, and then like I just realized, going, wait a minute, I'm doing something good. I like these people are just like look at my platform. I'm looking at what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm doing some cool shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm gonna get this. Okay, this makes sense. This means I'm doing good. So why am I going to let people fuck with my happiness? And that's where I just was like, and I've had it on live streams where people turn up and I just go, cool, block. Like it, and that's I don't think about it again. Like I don't let nonsense fuck with my happiness.
You don't need to either. Like you don't owe anyone an explanation or a comment over them negatively perceiving you for what you're doing in your life unless you're actually affecting people around you.
Yeah, bro. Like I don't have any hatred or want to hurt people or anything like that. And
Mhm.
if people want to take aim at what I do, fine, go ahead. But like, I don't really give a shit what you've got, like what it is, because it's like I've got
Mhm.
too much positive in my life to really get upset over trivial shit that at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's not that overly important to my life to care. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I understand. Like we had a girl here, a girl wrestler. She's really cool. Her name's Little Mars, by the way.
little,
Um,
all right,
she,
I have to
she
check
she's
her out.
amazing. She's amazing. Like I had a conversation with her, and like there's been some negativity being thrown at her, and not even correct negativity, like that people making jabs and stuff like that. And I had to, because she's so new to the business. Like I have to business. I have
The
to
business.
the business. I had to explain, like, and this is why I don't get angry at people who think we're clicky, people who think I'm a gatekeeper or and Pete. I don't, because I get where this jealousy comes from. Because I was explaining to her, like, you have to understand that when you have momentum, when you get successful, there are going to be people who are going to look at you and automatically think that should be me. She doesn't deserve it.
Yeah,
Because oh, and
they're
I
not.
gave her a good example. I gave her a great example. I not only was it two of our guys who were on that Impact tour.
Mm.
There were people I knew on that tour, and I was telling her, I was like, the moment I saw those names, a small part of my brain told me, "You deserve it more than them." The only difference was the bigger part of my brain, the logical one, said, "That's not true. Ignore
Yeah,
that." Yeah.
yeah. But that's the thing. I think that you being a little bit older than most,
Mm,
people, I mean, or more experienced and seasoned, I'll say than older. Um,
mm,
you can sort of have that logic, and you can have that moment. You can, you know what I mean? Like, and to go back to Zuko, he said the same thing. He said to me, he goes, "I was so jealous of you."
mm.
But in the most positive way possible, and
Yeah.
in the yeah, that's awesome, I'm envious, man. Fuck yeah, I'm so happy for you. That sort of level of jealousy. And it's like, yeah, that's cool, man, you can be a real one. But like, because I feel like once you get older and you get to that point where it's like, man, like, what am I gonna, I'm hating on this person for getting something good, like.
Exactly. Tim and Mitch got on there, and and before I just want to confirm, there was the little part of me wasn't getting me to hate them. It was just trying to convince me this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. But then that's the ego in all of us trying to tell us that you deserve everything. You should be given everything. The thing was too, the moment my the millisecond it took for my brain to kick in on how great this was. Like I've been pushing this school. I want Queensland to be noticed. And Mitch, Ryder, and Tim, they're fucking great dudes who have
Mm,
worked so fucking hard to get considered for impact. And the fucking amount of work we've done this year for them to get their names out, like the Not Fests, the fucking what is it, the
mm,
NWA tour. Like we did that in front of the MCW the owner and stuff like that. Like, and they got great feedback from them. Like the there is no reason for me to be even close to angry that they got picked, because this is legit my goal for 3 count pro wrestling and Queensland
mm.
wrestling. It was never about I want to be the top and then be the only person. Like I want people. When I got to the Coliseum, when I got the PWA, I didn't want to come. I didn't come back with an attitude of like I'm better than all yous. My attitude was I made it here. I challenge you to bypass me. Please bypass me.
Mm.
Because if you do that, I'll try and bypass. If someone else tries to bypass, I mean, moment being challenged by someone's
Makes you
momentum.
want to keep reaching and wanting to get better. And, it
Mm,
comes down to wanting to be, ripe than rotting. You know what I mean? Because what it comes down to, you'd rather be green and growing than ripe than rotting.
exactly. Like I do 100 burpees a day. The reason I do 100 burpees a day, legit, is because I won't be able to do anything athletic like these guys. So what if I had a really good gas tank that I could outgas everyone? And legit, like I got, I had a whole year there where my opponents were telling me they would come back gassing, and I'd come back like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" Like, it became an infamous joke to a point where I wrestled at a show, and one of my mates was doing commentary. Who's his name's Eat Stevens, and the comment on it is like, he's like, don't be deceived by Bobby's body. The man has a gas tank.
I love that.
Yeah, and it's yeah, the reason I do that too is like I was doing 100 burpees the first time. I wanted to feel healthy, but I said if I do a really good gas tank, and I start able to by the way, I can't out cardio everyone. I try. There's just 2 people who can do it, who can beat me, which I'm happy being third.
Who can out cardio you, Bobby?
Yeah, and like
who out cardio is Bobby Bishop?
Well, Rufio for one, 100% out cardio me. I feel, and I'm pretty sure. I don't know about Mitch yet, but I'm pretty sure Tim is either just above me or we're just even. I'm not sure. Like, I don't think we both came back from our match for the title match, and he didn't look puffed at all. But I didn't feel puffed at all. But he looked a lot better looking than me at the end of it.
Yeah, it wasn't as red faced and hair.
Yeah. Like I was covered in sweat and everything, and he was sweaty, but he was like, "Hey, that's cool, just dry." Like, but yeah, Rufio 100% will like he'll kill me. But I mean I'll do it because if I can hit that level, and then it's just, sorry, I know we're going to so much tangents tonight, but
no.
If my cardio tank can be here, much like people's momentum. I want the people below there who think they're better than me, who think they should be better than me. I want them to be like, fuck this dude. I'm going to fucking outflank him by doing more cardio and being better at wrestling. And then when they do that, I'm going to be like, you know what? I don't like being down here again. I'm going to go up here. It's just like,
yeah, but you know, by the time, like, you know, maybe in the next couple of years, you're going to see Bobby Bishop being like the most jacked, shredded wrestler on the scene because he's just cardio workers just through the roof.
It's the amount of food I've eaten. That's the worst part. Was like I thought when I was doing these burpees, like I'm gonna lose so much weight, and then I'd come home like I'm so hungry. I'm more hungry than I've ever been. Like,
yeah, you kind of like start like your body just goes into that like just feed me after you start training that level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the worst part is because of my ADHD and upbringing with Ritalin, appetite suppressors. When I stopped taking Ritalin, I just gorge food. I don't know what being full feels like. I just eat till I feel sick, which is something I'm still learning to deal with. But that explains a lot of my weight, basically.
Yeah, 100%. Because Ritalin like it has got a form of speed in it, which does suppress your appetite. So being off that, yeah, like you know, that's why you see that like a lot of speed fiends and stuff like that. Like you know, they're really tiny people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And like, I think I did it the wrong way too. Like, I was on a very high dose when I was like young, and I was 18, and I moved out of my house, my mom's house, who at the time, and she was constant. Like every time if I ever back chatted, an extra pill. Like she didn't know how to handle a kid with ADHD, and popping them pills wasn't the answer. It's I guess in a way like she thought my teenage angst was my ADHD, but no, you idiot, it's teenage angst. Like
100%.
every teenage
a kid.
Yeah, I'm just a teenager who's going to be angry. Like, no, have Ritalin. Oh, okay, that's cool. I'll just like, yeah. So when I moved out of the house, I went cold turkey on that, and I must have put on weight. I had abs at one point.
Really?
When I was 17, I had abs. When I hit 18, I went off that Ritalin. In 3 months, I had a gut, and it was big. And then,
Jesus,
I look a lot better. Like I got really fat and like really out of shape in my like early 20s, and then not early 20s, like early 20s, mid 20s sort of thing. And then I lost a lot of weight, and I weighed about the same that I did when I got really out of shape. The only difference is I look a lot better.
100%. Yeah, because you're holding it. You know what I mean? It's more muscle than fat. all this sort of stuff. But man, I just looked at the time, bro. We've been going for nearly 2 hours in this bitch, bro.
Jesus.
So man, like honestly, bro, like we were like, yeah, like we're just gonna do a quick hour or so, like get this done, and we've just doubled it. Man, but I think we gotta like get you back on again very, very soon, because like 2 hours, and like I feel we could easily just keep this shit going for another 2 to 3 hours easily. But you know, dude, what have you guys got coming up? Where can everyone sort of check out what you guys are coming up? What's been happening with 3 Count Academy? Where can people come and try to learn how to wrestle in Queensland?
So you can find it at 3 Count Pro Wrestling Academy on Instagram or Facebook. You can find me at YBay Pro Wrestling League. What date does this video come out, Piers?
Not this week, coming the following week. So probably
Perfect. That way I can say it. You can find me at World Series in Brisbane City.
There you go. Make sure. Well, that's awesome, bro. That is great. Congratulations. I'm excited that you're going to be on that show at World Series. That's a great opportunity for you.
Yeah.
You know, keep doing what you've been doing, man. It's been, as a friend of yours, it's been great seeing what you've been able to achieve this year. I'm very proud of the work that you guys have been doing. Keep it up. And as I said, man, we got to get you back on. So maybe after the World Series tour, we'll get you back on, and we'll have a good chat again, man. We'll do another couple of hours.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you coming on, but guys, make sure you go and check out our sponsor, Sleeps. Use that promo code MWA Pod to get a 10% discount. Also, you've been watching the greatest podcast in the world. This is Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I am the truth, Piers Austin, and this is the undeniable Bobby Bishop. And we'll catch you again very soon. Take care. All the best. Peace.